Hi, good morning, enthusiasts. This is John, and welcome to the channel. It's Thursday right now, the 16th of May. It looks like we are 2 days away from the Preakness being held up at Pimlico, and in Baltimore, right? So I want to sort of go through. I wouldn't say this is my first sort of review of the horses, but it's still early. I think I would probably going to have one more sort of revision coming up. But I did want to go through it. I wanted to get something out to y'all. I do have some thoughts regarding the race, and I wanted to sort of get something out ahead of time here so that y'all have something to sort of chew on. So before I do that, though, I just want to sort of say, coming out of the Derby, Mystik Dan had a great race. Nice, easy, not an easy trip, but a nice trip. Brian Hernandez, the jockey, did very well to get his horse in the clear and ran the rail, and very successful. So when I was looking at the race, I kind of thought that we wouldn't have too many horses that are going to sort of come right back and be in the Preakness, and we thought like, oh, the Baffert horses are waiting in the wings, and then we'd have a couple other newcomers. So we have a couple of newcomers, but I would say predominantly most of the horses have run, save for maybe three, have run in didn't run in the Derby. Let's put it that way. Now, one of those three ran on Derby Day. That sees the Gray won the Pate Mile. So you got to kind of consider that. So. But I think that's really an advantage. So there's a couple things going on in the race. Let's talk a little bit about the race. Mystik Dan looked really good. All reports out of the training. I suspect that he's going to be, up there as far as a favorite. Now, one of the things that we have to consider here is Muth. Just as of yesterday, news broke that Muth has been withdrawn from the race. I think what I read is he spiked a fever. And with abundance of caution, they're taking him out. So that was one of the Baffert horses, and that was the better of the two Baffert horses. The other Baffert horse is number 9, Imagination, who is kind of intriguing, and I think going to be the speed. And now, ordinarily, I would look at this race and say, maybe the lone speed, or the others like to sort of run up front. Let's come back to that. So I think Muth dropping, who tend to be on the speed or on the lead, or tends to be certainly up front, dropping out has a negative impact on pace. So what that means is the horses that remain, particularly those in the front, don't have to extend themselves as much chasing Muth, for that matter, or running right alongside him, or wearing themselves down by trying to keep pace with him. And there's an ability or a chance where you'll have something like Imagination, and you'll have a Mystik Dan. Mystik Dan has great tactical speed, likes to run on the front. In the Derby, he was coming up, kind of rated, and came up on the inside. The Derby's a different kind of race, 20 horses, and it's much challenging. So, long story short, is what I would say is that Muth being out is an advantage to Mystik Dan. Now, what I thought I'd like to do is just talk a little bit before we get too deep in the weeds here. I wanted to articulate a couple of things. If we look at Pimlico, the race is 3 mile and 3:16, so it's the shorter of the 3 Triple Crown races. It's longer than most of the Derby preps, but it's shorter than the Kentucky Derby. What we find, if I check the weather today, I think I saw 66 degrees and 80% chance of precipitation on Saturday. So you look at it, and it's like almost every hour except maybe 1 to 2 looks like it's going to be a good chance of rain. I suspect it's highly likely that we're going to be dealing with a sloppy track, and because it rains for that long, it's just they can seal it, and they will seal it. They can seal it, the water can run off, but they can't prevent it from being sloppy when it rains all day like that. So I think we're looking at a race where it's a slop. So we're looking at a mutter, all right? but that isn't as much, positive information that we'd like to see. When I look at it, a lot of the horses like to run in the mud, and even those that haven't run in the mud in this race, a lot like the mud. A lot have very good Thomason figures. I'm a fan of the Thomason figure, and so what I thought I'd do is just kind of go through that. And I'm bouncing around a little bit, but if we go back to sort of the pace favors now, someone like Mystik Dan, those horses that I call sort of stalkers, if you will. So the way that I broke down the race is, I think Imagination, number 9, is the speed. It's not knockdown, drag out sort of speed. It doesn't, it's not very flashy. The horse tends to be one that won't take the race. It'll be up front probably. Mystik Dan is what I characterize as a stalker. I mean, there's some of the early races he was the speed of the race, but for the most part, he has tactical speed to get out there. He can use his speed then, but seems to prefer to be on the inside and seems to prefer to stalk, if you will. Now, the other stalkers I see also similar type strategy techniques. Sees the gray. That's the Dwayne Lucas horse, is also going to be on the front, and I'm going to shy away a little bit for it, but I'll get it. I'm going to shy away because one, he's a grade 2 winner. That's fine. He just won the Pat Day Mile. That was 2 weeks ago. I read it was somewhere that the Dwayne Lucas horses that come back, with 2 weeks rest, let's say, you really don't perform all that greatly. They don't win, basically 8%. So me, if you know the channel, I look for 15% above on that, and a lot of statistics will prove that out. What does that mean? It doesn't mean he can't win. I feel like it's a potential for him to win, but here's the other thing. One of my earlier videos, go check it out. It's how to buy a racehorse for a little money down, right? I talk a little bit about these syndicates, and the syndicate that I focus mostly on is that myracehorse.com. Why am I bringing that up now? One, I want you to go see that video, right? That is my highest in video, but it's been out there for about a year. However, highest watch video. However, the reason I mention that is we may want to put him underneath, but I don't think it's a good win bet, and here's why. All those thousands of owners in the syndicate are going to be going out, and they're going to be betting on him, and you're going to see the odds fall. So classically, what we're looking at there with this horse is going to be an underlay, and you're not going to be able to get the odds that you want to offset the risks of betting for that horse. That's my opinion, but I think that's pretty good. So just to finish off the thought, though, the closers, I think Catching Freedom's a deep closer, and so similarly, I love that horse, right? I think the longer horses, I find it intriguing that they came into the Preakness and not go to just wait for the Belmont. Maybe they think there'll be too much competition, but I think this horse wants more track, not less. If you watch the Derby, you'll see the number 4, Catching Freedom, was coming up towards the end. If it looked like if it went a little further, he'd be certainly in the top 3. So Catching Freedom's great pedigree. If I remember correctly, it's the Constitution, which is the grandsire is Tappet. Underneath, we're looking at Pioneer of the Nile, right? So the Pioneer of the Nile was the sire of the grandsire. Underneath is Pioneer of the Nile. Pioneer of the Nile also, was the sire for Justify. So good pedigree to go longer. So, although I really like that horse and I like the pedigree and I like its style, if I'm looking at the odds, I'm thinking that it's going to have too much to do. It runs well in the mud, but there are a lot, like I said earlier, there are a lot that run in the mud. So, so what I feel like this race is going to go, you might see the 9, Mystik Dan, get the lead. Now, it has to come over from the 9th spot, which is the outside in this race, and there's only 9. Well, there'll be 8 horses, so there's one scratch, right? But you're going to see Mystik Dan up there as well. He may be in the lead. If they don't push him, and he gets an easy lead, and he can save some of his speed for later in the race. His energy, it's going to be hard to beat. However, one of the horses that I really like, and I'm leaning towards being what my pick is, and you'll see it in the title. This I've already would have given it away in the title, and that is Tuscan Gold. Tuscan Gold by Mystik D'Oro, with underneath Curlin. Right, Curlin is the grandsire. So I don't necessarily always look at who the sire, who the dam is, but I look at who's the sire of the dam. That helps me. Now, obviously, some fillies or mares jump off the page, and you know that, right? But here, everyone knows Curlin as the grandsire on the bottom side. So let me tell you a little bit about Tuscan Gold. Each of the races has improved. Hasn't run since March, end of March, where he came in third to Catching Freedom, whom I just talked about. So, but however, he has a running style that keeps him close up front, so he has a little tactical speed. Catching Freedom doesn't get out of the gate smoothly, and usually finds himself 8 lengths behind. Not Tuscan Gold. Tuscan Gold has been on a number of occasions three lengths out, which is not that crazy. So I just throw on the specs to take a closer look. So speed figures have jumped up each of the races. This last race, he was 2 lengths at the break out of the lead, and then he went to 1 length, and then was right in that area. His earlier race, which was his maiden race, he ran an 84, and he was 4 lengths out, then 2, and then it took the lead midway through the race. His other speed figures look good. Tyler Gaffalione is the trainer. Is the jockey. Chad Brown is the trainer. What's going on here? Chad Brown skipped the Derby with this horse. I don't think they had the points, and then it's coming into the Preakness. That's happened before, and you have to show some deference to Chad Brown in this horse, and that likely going to be my pick because the odds will be better than Mystik Dan, and it's a way that we can squeeze money out. And I feel like Mystik Dan, having run 2 weeks ago, all reports are he's taking it well, but the race had to take something out of him. This horse has been sitting on the sidelines, been training up. Trainer jockey percentages were all above 20. I just think that's is a good pick. So then I think Mystik Dan is most likely winner. I think Tuscan Gold is the I don't know. I hope we get 8-1. We probably won't, but is my probably long shot bet. And then I like Catching Freedom, and then I say Just Steel, then Seize the Gray, and then the number 2 Uncle Heavy, and I think Uncle Heavy's an intriguing thing. So Uncle Heavy is a filly horse. Parks, he ran out of Parks. His first 3 races. Trainer is Robert Reed, Butch Reed. My experience with him is I used to go to Parks all the time. See him there all the time. He'd be one of the guys, the trainers that would watch from the TVs right outside the betting kiosks, and just seemed like a regular guy, good guy. He goes up to Saratoga all the time, brings 10 horses, usually wins a couple. He does pretty well. So I have a fondness in my heart for Uncle Heavy. He runs great in the mud, so why isn't he the pick? And I just look at it and say, his speed figures haven't been there, right? So if we have other horses who have much higher speed figures and also run in the mud as well, if not better, we kind of have to drop him off a little bit. I think I think I'm going to take him off, as being one of the top horses. The one I'm going to take off as being one of the top horses. I already said that. We're looking at the D. Wayne Lucas horse, Seize the Gray, and I like the horse. I like Arrogate, certainly, although this horse hasn't shown. When I look at this, I say, the horse doesn't necessarily like the distance, but Arrogate, it's proved that he could carry the distance. You got to think, and Arrogate on top of Smart Strike is just fascinating. Is a good pedigree. So take him off at your own. But he ran so well on that one turn, Pate Mile. You have to wonder if that's the better race for him. And I feel a little weird that he ran that, but he wasn't able to run the Derby. But now you're going to stretch him out again. So and run 2 turns, which is the thing. And then so that's what I think. I think if I'm going to do is try, I'd probably do something like Mystik Dan with Mystik Dan and Tuscan Gold, first and second, right? It's kind of a 2-horse wheel, if you will. And then Catching Freedom, Just Steel, Seize the Gray underneath. But I think that's where I am. But I have I'm going to continue to monitor the weather, continue to just churn it over in my head, and then so let's talk a little bit about what happens next, right? So tomorrow is the Black-Eyed Susan, which again is the race sort of after the Oaks in the Kentucky Oaks, but it's the race for the 3-year-old girls. I'm going to run, and I don't have a good feel for that just yet. I'll work on that today. I'll get a video out either tonight or tomorrow with that. I don't know off the top if there is a race like the one we hit in the Kentucky the Oaks, the Kentucky Oaks Kentucky Derby double, but there likely is. So I'm going to keep that in mind for something like this. So, okay, so that's where I am today. Just to recap before we finish off, I think right now my long shot bet, or longer shot, if you will, is Tuscan Gold, but I think Mystik Dan is most likely winner. I think he's benefited by the Muth being out and the pace kind of coming back a little bit. And Tuscan Gold, I think, has a good pedigree, 3 races. His sire, just another note, Tuscan Gold sire is also sired Rachel Alexander, and the other one's forgetting me right now, but I'll move on. But so it's not a meager sort of pedigree. So I think we really have a good chance with this 8. So all right, race fans, keep doing your work. Throw out some questions. Look for a Black-Eyed Susan Day list of bets, and then we'll have something Saturday morning as well where we just refine our betting and get more specific. So that's all for right now. But let's go get them. We got to make some money this weekend. And thanks for the viewership. If you like this video, go ahead and like it, subscribe it, tell a friend. We had great growth during last week. And then the other thing I would say is go watch that My Racehorse, how to own a racehorse with little money down. It's a good video and has been widely received. So thanks again, and enthusiasts, we'll see you soon. Thanks, bye.